So I searched for someone.
Yeah, we can do because this gives me
What is it? This is just a small side column.
everybody's in a grid. There's like there is no shield. As we have this deep in between, this input is not immediately inside. It has a deep in the middle.
Today?
And the rest of the sleep is fine. It should work. What could have happened is that by the time
it has a you want to do mobile, you can go pages, doesn't work. Let's see it, the full word, or it doesn't work.
I don't really remember the order. I think the element was first and the element was second. But every time I get confused with that, I just.
So what are we gonna do with
Plus two arguments.
No, that's it. I was, the way everything was taking one, so. Let's do the push up, I started already. So I'm just gonna try to use like the same colors we use. I'm back and see what you guys.
I have a login. Sign in and sign out, or when you do it, it's just like who's logged in.
Well, that is the index is first.
Yeah, whenever it changes to that line also. I will change it.
Well, it's all done dynamically, so incorrect shouldn't be that hard. So you do John, the way you go.
But now all of them have all of these.
I don't know how that will work with GitHub, but we could just do it over Q.
I remove this.
Get all the functions on the computer.
Maybe I don't.
And then push everything together.
That's the right one.
Probably when the time he did it, HTML was different.
What about when the user is not signed in? Are they gonna be able to search?
And then it's gonna say.
Well, yeah, when we put it together, do you want to do? Say, please log in.
No, it was.
We need one for word search. Yeah.
You wanted to work on this. I wanted to do this. I know what he wants to do.
Yeah.
He wants to do the genre.
Probably by the time you do it, it's gonna push something else.
I'm assuming he's 5 minutes away from us.
Sí. Only my concierge. Say así. Ah. Working on the project. Well, that doesn't work. That doesn't work.
And I said, what I'm doing is, I'm doing it because
That should work. Am I open to low one? Results or yeah.
What do you think?
What I did there is that because I don't wait to walk, I actually take photos and.
Whatever pushes that.
No, I don't have to remember what it is.
You can check in with child.
Yes, basically.
You can do stuff like.
The only thing that we didn't actually do something was kids online.
Translating the right and do an if statement inside. You can do if snapshot.
If you don't need it in the future,
Child.
you don't have to store it.
So that's phase one. And because look, if they really switch to work, the sale was an action.
Is yours?
Did we gonna,
What day?
assign to this one like that? Like,
Do 5 to 10 minutes, the long thing is. It will be out. I know some. Most producers are relying on that ignoring the UI.
That's why, you can just use a jQuery function.
Hey, we're gonna get started, so you guys wanna like set up the.
jQuery function is gonna have a clear.
Yes.
That's
Good time.
an array.
Nothing.
The objects. When you do the jQuery function, and you do quotations.
How do you say what makes it spend?
It turns out in a array.
I don't know, maybe that's just my
Focus
boss.
on not containing that.
Want to be tomorrow?
There's only one element of each. It's less than one. It already exists. No.
Okay, hello class. How's everyone? Hi. Hello everyone. So we're gonna start today's class with a little bit of storytelling. I told you guys Stone Soup and Stone Soup the military strategy and the Stone supercomputer would be our out of scope topic for this week. And it will. So we are going to now listen very briefly to one of my favorite actors and comedians, Danny Kaye, telling the story of Stone Soup on a crackly record. Thought this would be a good change of pace to unwind.
Once upon a time, there was a tramp. This tramp had walked all day through the forest with little hope of finding shelter. And as he was growing tired and weary, and was about to rest his body beneath the sheltering shade of an oak tree, he glimpsed through an opening in the forest. And there he saw the twinkling lights of a little cottage. And he thought, how nice it would be to be able to roast myself before the fire and get a bite to eat. And as he dragged himself wearily toward this cottage, he met an old woman coming toward him. The old woman stopped and looked at him and said, "Good evening. Where do you come from?" And the tramp looked up at her and said, "South of the sun and east of the moon. I have been all over the world except for this parish." "Well," said the old woman, "you must be a great traveler then. And what may your business be here?" "Oh," said the tramp, "I would merely like a little shelter." "I thought as much," said the woman, "but you may as well get away from here at once. The master of the house is not at home, and my place is not an inn." "Well," said the tramp, "you mustn't be so hard-hearted, woman. We are both human beings. We should help one another, shouldn't we?" "Help? Help," she said. "Who will help me? I haven't had a morsel of food in the house, even for myself." No, you'll have to find shelter someplace else. The train, however, was persistent. And although the old woman grumbled and complained, she at last gave in to his begging, and she said she would allow him to lie on the floor for the night. Now, when the tramp went into the house, do you know what he noticed? He noticed that the woman wasn't nearly as poor as she had pretended to be. She was only stingy and greedy. And the tramp, in his most agreeable manner, asked her for something to eat. Where am I to get it from? Said the woman. I haven't tasted a morsel of food myself the entire day. The tramp was a clever fellow. Poor old granny, he said, you must be starved. Well, in that case, I suppose I must ask you to have something with me. The old woman looked at him. With you? What have you got to offer, I'd like to know? The tramp said, he who far and wide doth roam sees many things not known at home. Lend me a pot, Granny. Now, the old woman became very curious, so she handed him a pot. And she watched him very carefully as he filled it with water, put it on the fire, and then out of his pocket, he took a 4-inch nail, turned it 3 times in his hand, and put it in the pot. Old woman stared incredulously. What's this going to be? She said. And the tramp said, nail broth. The old woman had never heard the like of that before. And she said, well, that's something for poor people to know. I should like to learn how to make it. And the tramp said, you only have to watch me. They went on gently stirring the pot. The old woman squatted on the hearth, her eyes following every movement of his hand. This kind of nail generally makes good broth, said the tramp. But tonight, it is likely to be rather thin. You see, I have been making broth for a whole week with the same nail. And if I only had a handful of oatmeal to put into it, that would make it fine. But since there is none, there's no use wishing for it. And he went on, gently stirring.
Okay, I think 5 minutes is probably good for this. So you guys know this story though, right? So what is the moral of this story? What is this story meant to teach us?
Cook with rocks.
Cook with rocks. Okay, well besides that, what is this story meant to teach us? Well, yes, so this is Danny Kaye's version uses nails, and most tellings of the story it's stone soup, but it's still the same story. Really? You've never heard this story? It's a very yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a famous story. I think it's Portuguese actually. But yeah. So basically, what happens is in some tellings it's a monk. Sometimes it's just a poor traveler. But he goes around to this small town and he tells them. He asks them first for food, and they say, "No, we're poor. We don't have anything to give you." And he says, "Well, I'm going to show you a magic trick. I'm going to cook soup from a stone." So he does that, and then he says, well, you know what would make this soup even better? Some carrots. And then one of the villagers says, oh, yes, I have some carrots in my garden. I'll run and get them. And then somebody else contributes, some other type of vegetable, and before you know it, they have this delicious vegetable soup that they all share. Yeah.
Okay, so I was just confused by the audio.
Yeah, he tells a slightly different version of it. I liked MK. But, so what is the story meant to teach us about?
People are gullible.
People are gullible.
So when you work together, you achieve greatness.
Yeah, thank you, Matthew. That's what we're doing for Melbourne.
People are kind. Jeez.
Yeah.
I was
that's
contributing to the humor.
what it's meant to teach us about is that when we collaborate and work together, we can get things done, and we get a better result than when we just try to sit at home and eat our raw carrots or our raw whatever. If we put all of our vegetables together and share them, we get a much better result. And a lot of times people are unwilling to do that because they say, this is mine, these are my carrots, these are my vegetables, I don't want to share them. But once we get past that and we all learn to share, we end up getting a much better result. So some people in the military, first of all, there's one World War II General Patton, I think, came up with the term stone soup strategy for acquisition of things. So instead of like writing out a new proposal for funding to his superiors, what he would do is he would say, well, I already have this thing, and all I need is this one little thing to get it. Then there's also a group of computer scientists working for the US government who did the same thing. They basically built this thing called the Stone supercomputer with computers that were deemed to be too slow. So they threw them all out, but they used open source software and linked them all together. So something to sort of think about when you're working in projects and working on teams, think about what people have to offer and what we can do to get them to offer things together and what we can do to sort of bring people out of their shells and get them working together. And sometimes there really is like a gimmick you need, like a stone or something, like I already have this thing working and all I need is everything that goes in, kind of a thing. And if you can see, the open source community is already very giving. So a lot of the things that you need to make your projects are already available to you. So for instance, I'll take your project. You have the recipe project. So you pretty much had everything you needed to build it already available to you. You had the open source APIs, you had jQuery, you have all of the web technologies, JavaScript, HTML, it's all open source, it's all freely available. It's really just about putting it together. So I hope this makes sense. This is sort of an impromptu presentation, but it's just supposed to be getting us thinking about our teamwork, since that's what we have in the lesson plan for today, is we're going to talk about teamwork. So that being said, I'm going to quickly open it up to you guys, and then we can get back to work. But would anybody like to volunteer and share about their experience working as a team, what was working, what isn't? I will call on you individually.
We did a pair programming session to help me focus because I was getting lost on different thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it does that. It helps kind of rein you in and keep you focused on things, definitely.
Wine is a great tool.
Wine?
Not during COVID.
In moderation. They've actually done
Wine
research
and
on this.
Chipotle
And
are
find
great.
like people are better in math actually when they have like one drink or half a drink, but then it steeply falls off once you have more than one.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just like wines.
Yeah. Okay, what else besides wine?
Just working together, really, like, there were some things, and Jackie, I'm gonna put you out there, that Jackie thinks I could do by myself, but I'm like, your help helps me do it.
Well, you know, then kudos back to you, because it's, Poppy will have a thought and it's 10,000 feet up, and then it's good to just let her go. And as she's talking, I'm writing, variable arrays, and I'm writing, and then we do it together. So I guess it's kind of like what did you say?
Peer programming.
Sorry.
Programming,
And she's
yeah.
talking out loud and I'm writing, so we don't miss a thought. So, and then we tried it, and then it didn't work, and then we adapted and modified, so.
And it worked, and it was beautiful.
And then it worked, and then it was great.
Yeah, I think that's a very important lesson. Even if you don't think you have anything to contribute to the conversation, sometimes you can just contribute being like a sounding board to bounce ideas off of, and sometimes that's a really big contribution. That's important. Thank you for sharing. Maybe somebody from over here. Jose? No? Okay.
Madison and I, we went through some of the JavaScript stuff together on connecting the back end to the front end.
Uh-huh.
And you can see it all coming together.
Okay. Sounds good. So do you guys all feel like you're in a good place? Pretty good? Yeah, I think I've looked at what you guys all are doing. It seems like you're pretty good today. It's just going to be polishing it. And they do say like a lot of times the last 10% ends up being 50% of the work. So keep that in mind. Try to keep yourselves reined in. Anything else anyone would like to share with the group before we get started?
There are no wrong answers.
There are, I don't know. There are wrong answers.
There are multiple ways to do something.
There are
There's
multiple
multiple
ways.
ways.
Don't do the cat.
More than one way.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, we don't really skim cats. I guess once upon a time, like in the Middle Ages, people really did skim cats, and that's why we say that. Yeah, we don't have to think about that.
There's no buttons in the east. And actually, sometimes they do, right? Or just guinea pigs.
Yeah, guinea pigs. I don't think anybody really eats cats and dogs. I think it's
No, they
over exaggerated. Yeah. I guess.
Uh,
Okay. Well, yes, there are many ways to.
to achieve goals.
There are many ways to achieve your goals. There are
Yeah.
many possible right answers, and also many wrong answers. Many wrong answers that won't work, and then many things that will work. So, with that, I will let you guys get to it.
You're fun. I know, I know.